What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Friday, October 6th, 2023, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 11:41 a.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming from Russia. So, Russia is planning to revoke their ratification of the nuclear test ban treaty, and this was stated by Vyacheslav Volodin. He is the Speaker of the Russian Parliament, and also Vladimir Putin signaled that this is something that Russia could do. So I want to just read this article to you guys coming from Reuters, and I also want to share some interesting flight paths from overnight last night. We had some interesting activity in northeastern Poland. There was an AWACS plane in the Suwalki Gap, and there were also British Eurofighter Typhoons flying close to the Suwalki Gap and also close to the Ukrainian border in Poland. Okay, so let me just start by reading this article to you. This is crazy, guys. If Russia pulls out of the nuclear test ban treaty, that means that they would be able to test nuclear weapons in outer space, in the atmosphere, and in the ocean. Okay, the nuclear test ban treaty only allows you to test nuclear weapons underground and in such a way that radiation won't get out. Okay, but if Russia pulls out of this treaty, that would allow them to test in the atmosphere, in space, and also in the ocean. And I think the reason why they want to pull out of it is because Putin's new missile, the Burevestnik, is a nuclear powered cruise missile that would have a global range. And obviously, he wants to test the warhead on it. It's supposed to have a nuclear warhead. He obviously wants to test it and make sure it works. And he even said so himself when he spoke yesterday in Sochi at the Valdai Forum. Okay, so let me read this to you. Okay, multiple sources are reporting this, not just Reuters. Russia indicated on Friday that it was moving swiftly towards revoking its ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty after President Vladimir Putin held out the possibility of resuming nuclear testing. Putin said on Thursday Russia's nuclear doctrine, which sets out the conditions under which he would press the nuclear button, did not need updating, but that he was not yet ready to say whether or not Moscow needed to resume nuclear tests. Okay, so he didn't rule out nuclear testing. He didn't say explicitly, yeah, we need to resume tests, but he said that certain warheads need to be tested. And this is very concerning, guys. Okay, we are literally just right on the verge of nuclear war. The Kremlin chief said that Russia could look at revoking ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, as the United States had signed but not ratified it. Russia's top lawmaker Vyacheslav Volodin then said the State Duma lower house of parliament would swiftly consider if there was a need to revoke Russia's ratification of the treaty. Okay, so Putin said that they're going to revoke the ratification of the treaty because the U.S. did not ratify it. And then the Speaker of the Russian Parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin, said that the lower house of the Russian Parliament would swiftly consider if there was a need to revoke the treaty. Okay. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the point would be to achieve a common denominator between Russia and the United States. This does not constitute a statement of intention to conduct nuclear tests, he told reporters. However, Putin had signaled that possibility in his comments on Thursday. As a rule, experts say with a new weapon, you need to make sure that the special warhead will work without failures, Putin said. Okay, so there you have it right there. Okay, he didn't say it directly that, yeah, we're going to resume testing, but he kind of indirectly hinted at it that, if you have a special warhead, you need to make sure it works. Okay, and then, of course, Dmitry Peskov, he always lies. I mean, even right before Russia invaded Ukraine. He said that it was Western hysteria, that, about all the troops building up on Ukraine's border. Okay, and so he's saying that it's not to resume tests. So basically, whatever Dmitry Peskov says, it's always the opposite. Um, a resumption of nuclear tests by Russia, the United States, or China could indicate the start of a new nuclear arms race between the big powers who stopped nuclear testing in the years following the 1991 collapse of the Soviet Union. Um, so, absolutely crazy, guys. Okay. The Soviet Union last tested in 1990 and the United States in 1992. In 2020, the Washington Post reported that the then Trump administration had discussed whether to conduct a nuclear test. Putin said on Thursday Russia had successfully tested a nuclear powered and nuclear capable cruise missile, the Burevestnik, whose capabilities he has called unmatched. So obviously, he wants to test that missile, okay? He wants to make sure it works. And Trump was thinking about doing a test a couple years back. China is building hundreds of ICBM silos, according to the 2023 annual threat assessment by the U.S. intelligence community. CNN reported this month that satellite images showed increased activity at nuclear test sites in Russia, China, and the U.S. Washington says China is reorienting its nuclear posture for strategic rivalry with the United States and is not interested in any arms control agreements which lock in U.S. or Russian nuclear dominance. China and Russia are seeking to ensure strategic stability with the United States through the growth and development of a range of weapons capabilities, including non-traditional weapons intended to defeat or evade U.S. missile defenses, according to the U.S. threat assessment. Consequently, these new technologies probably will challenge the way states think about arms control, and we expect it will be difficult to achieve agreement on new weapons definitions or verification measures, particularly at the multilateral level. Okay, so it's not just Russia, it's also China that wants to test stuff, and they're building hundreds of silos in China. The U.S. is rearming their Minuteman III ICBMs after Putin announced that he's not going to be following the New START treaty anymore. And so that's going to effectively triple the number of warheads that are deployed on our silo-based missiles. Okay, we can also rearm our Ohio-class subs, which would also add another few hundred warheads. Okay, so there is a new nuclear arms race now, guys. Russia, China, and the U.S. are all building up their nuclear arsenals, and satellite images showing increased activity at these test sites in Russia, China, and the U.S. Okay, so get prepared, guys. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. Very, very important thing to have these days. I want to just share some flight paths with you. So last night we had a nuclear war command and control plane in the air. It was flying along the California coast and also in the Pacific Northwest. These planes are responsible for remotely launching all of our Minuteman III ICBMs in the event that ground-based command and control were to get destroyed. Also, they can communicate with our nuclear-armed submarines and our nuclear bombers. And here we have some Russian doomsday planes that were airborne earlier this morning. One of them went to Murmansk, okay, which is where Russia has their northern fleet. That's where they have 2/3 of their nuclear armed submarines. And then we had two of them go to Moscow, one from Sochi and then one from a place in southern Russia somewhere. The transponder was off. Okay, so a lot of movement of doomsday planes in Russia overnight and this morning. We had a ton of NATO reconnaissance activity. We had an AWACS plane patrolling northeastern Poland. We had a RC-135 circling Kaliningrad, which is a Russian province sandwiched between Poland and Lithuania. We also had a cargo plane, a military cargo plane or a military transport plane go from Berlin to southeastern Poland, the city of Rzeszów, which is the city where all NATO equipment has been pouring in. We also had a Polish border patrol plane flying very close to the Belarus border in southwestern Belarus, where apparently there's at least 10 or 20,000 Russian troops just 2 miles from the Polish border. Okay, and what's really interesting are these Eurofighter Typhoons that were flying in northeastern Poland. They were airborne at the same time as the AWACS plane, and they were near the Suwalki Gap. So I don't know if there was something going on here, and they scrambled these Eurofighter Typhoons. It's very possible that there's indications that Russia's building up forces here, and they could try to go into Poland. So Britain deployed 4 Typhoon fighter jets to Poland. So very interesting, guys. And here's a closer look. Okay, you can see that those Typhoons were doing like loops over here next to the AWACS plane. And here's another shot zoomed out of the AWACS plane and the RC-135 that was circling Kaliningrad. And then another interesting thing that happened was after those Typhoons went to northeastern Poland, they then went to southeastern Poland towards the Ukrainian border. And they actually shut their transponders off when they got close to the Ukrainian border. They took off from the area of northwestern Poland near Poznań, and they shut their transponders off near Rzeszów, which is where all the Western equipment is going to. So here's a closer look, and you can see they flew from the Poznań area, and then once they got to Rzeszów, they shut off their transponders. And I don't believe they landed there, because if they landed there, you would see like a lighter color, like over here. That means that they're decreasing in altitude, but you can see it's just a blue line, and then it just cuts off. And then a little bit later, they reappeared, and they were going back towards Poznań. Okay, so they must have been patrolling this area. And here we have a sub-hunter plane operated by the U.S. Navy that was patrolling the Russian Arctic near their Northern Fleet base in Murmansk. This is where Russia has 2/3 of their nuclear-armed submarines. So the U.S. is definitely keeping an eye on the Russian nuclear-armed subs, okay? And here we have an aerial refueler plane that was doing loops off the coast of northern Norway. Very interesting there. Not sure what it was refueling, maybe a stealth bomber. And here's just another shot of the recon plane that went through the Baltics and around Kaliningrad. And we have 2 aerial refuelers doing loops over eastern Tennessee right now. Very, very strange to have 2 of these airborne in eastern Tennessee and doing loops. I don't know what they're refueling or what they're doing, but just wanted to share that with you. So just wanted to give you guys this update. I will be back later on this afternoon with another update with the latest breaking news. But emergency alert, Russia is pulling out of the nuclear test ban treaty, and looks like they will be doing some nuclear tests, probably their new Burevestnik missile. They're going to test that. So other than that, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.